if you're here, I am assuming that you watched part 1 of our video series on attachment styles, where we covered attachment styles simplified. We covered each one of the 5 attachment styles as described by Kay and Milan Yurkovich of How We Love, which again, right down in the description, you will find their bio, you'll find a link, you'll find everything you need. If you are here, I want to make sure that you watch that first video because it sets up the stage for how we walk from our attachment injury to our secure attachment. And the way that each injured love style does that is completely different. So go check out the first video and then join me back here. And if you find any of this information helpful, please like and subscribe right now so we know to keep creating more content like this. If you're looking for help to dive deeper into your personal attachment style and how it's defining your life and wrecking maybe some of your relationships, you can also look down in the description. We have personal coaching available called sparring sessions. You can check out the link below or just head to fightweekend.org. Otherwise, let's jump in. So after the last video, you were able to find out maybe you're an avoider, maybe you're a pleaser, maybe you're a vacillator, maybe you fall into the chaotic category, but all of these have the potential to grow towards security. You are not stuck in your injury. That's the reason we have to keep reiterating that this is not a personality test. We aren't trying to give you a series of personality traits that define how you'll always do relationships. Attachment style and attachment theory is about trying to figure out where the injury is so that it can be diagnosed properly and be able to begin to be healed. You do not have to remain in any of these 4 injuries. All of you have the potential to get to secure connection. And in this video, I'm going to give you your first 3 steps in all of the 4 injury styles. So let's begin with the avoider. So for the avoider, here is 3 steps towards growth. First, number 1, learn how to communicate your emotions. You spent your whole childhood not thinking that your emotions were valuable, but they are, and they need to be communicated to those you are in relationship with. This can be terrifying if you've never done it. So one of the best ways to do this, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, is get a journal and write it down. Begin to process in your journal the emotions you're experiencing and why they are valid because of your experience. Then step 2 is you're eventually going to have to talk to the person that you are in relationship with and tell them what you are feeling. This is the only way to step over that childhood lie that that your needs are not important. Number 2, the avoider has to learn to move from task to relationship. Remember that as a child, one of the things they got applauded for was mastery and independence. Getting things done is a way for avoiders to get out of the way of any emotions. I'm just gonna dive into my list of stuff and I'm never gonna have to deal with what I'm feeling or what they're feeling, because what they're feeling just makes me feel like they're being needy. I wanna push away further, and if their emotions are important, mine might be important, and definitely do not want that. It's one of the reasons that avoiders sometimes misdiagnose as a pleaser, because they're trying to get stuff done for other people in avoidance of their own emotions. But the difference is an avoider has no idea what they're feeling and why it's even valuable. So they're trying to get as far away as possible, where a pleaser is performing to draw people closer because they want you near them in order to know that they are safe. Third growth step for avoiders is to try tears. Yeah, that's an awful one. I'm super sorry, because avoiders hate to cry. They had no value for their emotions, so tears were definitely off that list. But it is the third growth step. To begin to grieve the reality that your emotions were never validated is a huge growth step for avoiders who want nothing to do with emotions. Now for the pleaser. The first growth step for a pleaser is this: you have to acknowledge your fear. They lack confidence in decision making, whether it's trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives or who they want to be in relationship with. And because of that, they are paralyzed into making no decisions at all. The growth step that is first is to acknowledge, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of making that decision because of the cost. I'm afraid of being abandoned. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be good enough. All of those fears can be processed inside of yes, Journal. Get yourself some paper to write on. Get yourself a pen and begin to write down the things that you're afraid of or that you are avoiding, which is why sometimes the pleaser misdiagnosed as an avoider. But remember that a pleaser is doing it to get connection, to stay connected. And it's their fear that's paralyzing them, not their lack of emotional intelligence. So as soon as a pleaser can identify and say out loud, I'm afraid, or recognize within themselves, I'm afraid, that is growth step number one. Growth step number two for a pleaser is practice being alone, which is terrifying for a pleaser because they don't know who they are when they're alone. And being alone is one of their biggest fears because there's no one there to protect them, to save them, to rescue them. Pleasers, you are okay on your own. And listen to me, for my Christian pleasers, that does not mean bring your favorite worship song. That does not mean bring your favorite videos, your favorite podcast, all of the stuff. This means get rid of the books, get rid of the songs, get rid of all the distractions, find a place and sit utterly alone. Settle into your body and recognize that you're going to be okay. The third growth step for pleasers is quit something. They are so busy pleasing that their plate is so full and they never learn to say no. So pleasers, your third and really difficult growth step is to quit something and then bear the repercussions of it. You're going to let somebody down. You're going to hurt their feelings. They might be upset with you. But this is a massive growth step for a pleaser, to quit something, to say no to something. Now, what about the vacillators? Vacillators, the first growth step for you is this: learn to self-reflect. And I think you probably get what I'm going to tell you now. You need a journal. The first growth step of a vacillator is to self-reflect in a way that allows them to get their thoughts and their fantasies out of their head and onto a piece of paper. That way it goes from thought and heart to physical piece of paper in a way that allows you to see it and understand it instead of just roll it around in your brain. All vacillators need a chance to figure out exactly what they're feeling before they attempt to communicate it to someone. Because when they try to do that before self-reflecting, it usually ends up in anger because they don't even fully understand what they're feeling. And so somebody else is definitely going to misunderstand, which is going to feel like rejection, feel like abandonment, and turn into anger. Growth step number 2 for vacillators. There is no magic person. Now, that's inside of marriage and if you're still single. There is no magic person who's gonna fix all the brokenness inside of you and make you feel wonderful all the time. And you shouldn't place those demands on your spouse to expect that they're going to be perfect all the time or they're gonna say all the right things all the time and that it's always going to be this high is still a woundedness from your childhood and from your attachment style. What our goal is to recognize is that all people are broken, all people have a attachment injury, including ourselves, and no magic person is going to fix it. We are going to enjoy people, have compassion for people, for where they are and where we are. This is why self-reflection is first, because a lot of the work of self-reflection allows us to see ourselves as we are. As vacillators, we see ourselves as we are, not as we wish we were, and we settle into the reality and the beauty of our actual story and not the story we've made up for ourselves. Growth number 3, check your assumptions, which goes along with self-reflect. Then there is no magic person. So here's the thing. We are putting on other people as vacillators. As you can tell, I am one. Vacillators tend to project their pain, project their emotions onto another person, which leads to assumptions and expectations that those people don't even know we have. So the hardest part about being a vacillator is getting to that third growth step towards security, which is stop placing all the responsibility and expectations on another person, knowing that you will be okay, that you will be loved. The anger and the frustration will begin to melt away as we trust the connections we have and stop assuming everybody's going to leave us or is mad at us or wants to reject us. We can settle into the relationships we have, and even when somebody doesn't respond appropriately, we have done enough self-reflection to own our part in that connection and let others own their parts as well. Now for the chaotic. Remember that the chaotic is one of the most difficult attachment injuries. So growth is going to be very, very hard because they've never learned how to be in a safe environment. So every single thing they attempt is going to feel false. It is going to feel fake. It is going to feel unsafe, and it is going to birth anger and frustration, or it's going to birth complete depression and disconnectedness or detachment. But if you find yourself somewhere in this category, here are a few growth steps that can lead you to secure connection. Step number 1, receive comfort and compassion. Remember that there's never been an experience for the chaotic attachment style in their whole lives where they've actually been able to be comforted or to feel compassion for what they've experienced. Growth step number 2, take responsibility. This is massive because until you recognize that you are safe, it is going to be very difficult for you to take responsibility for your actions. So the first step being receive comfort and compassion hopefully connects you to other individuals or an individual where you begin to feel safe so that you can start taking responsibility for your actions and for the people that you've hurt along the way. But if you're a victim, taking responsibility isn't as much a charge as it is a chance for you to be able to say, I am being victimized, I am being hurt, I am being abused, and find someone that you can get a hold of, that you can connect with, and that you can get help right now today. Growth step number 3. Once you've actually received comfort and compassion, you feel safe, you start taking responsibility for your life, you can begin to face addictions. And that is a massive, massive, massive leap to get over for the chaotic attachment style because their addictions are what keep them disconnected from their emotions, and they are terrified of emotions and want nothing to do with them. So they keep their addictions as long as possible. Okay, so that's it for our 2-part series on attachment styles. I may do a part 3 that has to do with core attachment patterns, which talks about how each one of these love patterns or attachment styles connect to each other. And when they get married, they have certain dysfunction and certain things they go in cycles about. And we can dive more into that. If you're interested, go ahead and leave a comment below. Let me know so that way I know that I should make that video. And if you're not interested, just say this was stupid and I hate the whole thing. So you can do that as well. It's totally okay. Won't offend me at all. But if you do want to grow in your attachment style and you do want to learn more about it, please sign up for one of our sparring sessions. The information is in the description below, or you can go to our website, fightweekend.org. I will see you there.